Y'all ever met someone so delusional? They genuinely think they can sell a house that ain't theirs? Yeah, that's exactly what my HOA Karen tried. And trust me, what happened when her little scheme blew up? Oh, she failed miserably. Let me take you inside the wildest real estate scam my neighborhood has ever seen. The neighborhood was quiet the morning the first crack in the story formed. Birds were barely chirping, sunlight still struggling to take over the fog, and I was sipping coffee on my front porch, completely unaware that someone, somewhere, was trying to sell my home. It started with small things. Emails from the HOA that felt off. A notice taped to my door saying, upcoming property evaluation, handwritten in a messy script. And most suspiciously, Karen, the HOA president, had been weirdly friendly to me. Too friendly. The kind of smile you see on a shark before it bites. I'd lived here for 5 years. She'd never once cracked a smile. But that week, she'd been waving like her hand was on sale. Then came the moment everything shifted. A black SUV pulled into my driveway. A man stepped out in a suit holding a thick folder. At first, I thought he was a door-to-door salesman, until he said the words that froze my blood. Hi, I'm here for the walkthrough before closing. Closing for what? I asked. Your property, he said. The paperwork says the owner authorized the sale. I laughed. He didn't. He handed me a folder. Inside were forged documents with my name, my signature, my address, my house, listed as pending sale. That's when the truth hit me like a brick. Someone was trying to sell my house. And when the buyer described who handed him the documents, middle-aged woman, blonde hair, very authoritative, said she runs the HOA. My stomach tightened. Karen, acting like nothing was wrong, typing on her laptop like she was running a Fortune 500 company, not a glorified neighborhood club. Karen, I said, why is someone trying to buy my house? Her eyes widened for a split second, the guilty kind, before she plastered on her fake smile. Oh, must be a misunderstanding, dear. A clerical error. Really? Because the buyer said you handled the paperwork. Her lips tightened. Sir, lower your voice. But I didn't. You forged my signature. Whispers exploded around us. That's when she snapped. You were planning to move eventually anyway. I was simply doing you a favor. A favor. You tried to sell my house. She stood up, leaning over the desk, whispering in that sharp, venomous tone she only uses when no one else is around. This neighborhood needs a certain level of standard. And frankly, you don't fit that image. I felt my fists clench. But what she didn't know, her little scam was already unraveling. The buyer had recorded everything. Every meeting, every document exchange, every voice message. And he gave it all to me. That's when I called the police. Karen still thought I was bluffing until the officers walked into the HOA office. Her face drained of color. Her voice trembled. Her perfect little kingdom finally cracking. Karen sat stiffly in a metal chair at the police station as detectives laid out the evidence. Her forged documents. Her voice recordings. Camera footage showing her handing the buyer a seller's disclosure form. With my printed name. She tried every excuse. It was an accident. It was a misunderstanding. The homeowner agreed verbally. I thought it would help the neighborhood. But none of it worked. The officers weren't buying her suburban fairy tale. Meanwhile, I filed a full fraud report. The detectives told me something that made my stomach flip. If she had succeeded, you'd have walked outside one day to a moving truck in your driveway. Her plan was that extreme. As the investigation continued, neighbors started coming forward. Turns out, I wasn't her first target. She had convinced an elderly couple to list their home for community benefit. She had pressured a family to move because their decor didn't match the neighborhood aesthetic. But she never went as far as forging signatures. Until me. The next HOA meeting was the one nobody would forget. The room was packed. Dozens of angry homeowners stood shoulder to shoulder, murmuring like a storm ready to strike. Karen stepped onto the stage trying to regain control. As your president, someone shouted from the back. You tried to sell his house. Then everything broke loose. Voices erupted. Accusations flew. Documents were raised. Even board members shouted at her, calling her a disgrace. Karen panicked. She tried to grab the mic, but the treasurer pulled it away. Effective immediately, he announced, Karen is removed as HOA president. Cheers filled the room. Further, he continued, due to ongoing criminal investigation, she will have no access to HOA property or records. Karen's face went red, then pale, then red again. She sprinted out of the room, while neighbors filmed her meltdown. The fallout was brutal. She lost her position. She lost her standing. She was banned from hosting HOA-related events, and her fraud charges were forwarded to the district attorney. But the best moment came 2 weeks later. I received a letter, official HOA stationery, signed by the board's new president. On behalf of the association, we apologize. Your home is yours alone, and Karen will never set foot on your property again. I stepped onto my porch that afternoon, the same porch where everything began, feeling something I hadn't felt in months, peace. And Karen? She didn't sell my house, but she did lose her own. Because when the investigation uncovered financial misconduct, her home went into foreclosure. Turns out the only property she needed to worry about was her own.